True or false? You beat drug abuse.
True. Facts.
Explain.
Um, so I graduated high school, went to college. Um, I kind of dabbled in my senior year with like weed and stuff. And then whenever I got to college, like freshman year, really started getting into it. Got more into like mushrooms, acid. That was like within my first year. Dabbled in a little bit of pills my first year, and then transferred to another school my second year of college. That got even deeper into like pills, tripping like to the point where I was tripping like 3, 4 times a week. And then after I dropped out of college, my second year, moved to Athens. I was already dabbling in like lean a little bit. And then whenever I moved to Athens, I got even deeper into it. I had like a few pints in the freezer at a time. And between 2018 and 2019, I had like 5 seizures from like Xanax and lean specifically. Because I had like, whenever I was in Athens, I didn't really trip as much. I just stuck to like the pills and specifically Xanax and then lean. Like I would get off of my job, pour up like a 3 or 4, drop 2, 3 sticks in a mellow yellow, and then just start drinking it after my shift at work. And so between 2018 2019, I had like three, nah, between like 5 and 6 seizures between 2018 and 2019. And then it got to the point where like I knew I had to quit, but my body physically couldn't because every time I tried to stop, I would either, my body would shut down, the effects from like the withdrawal symptoms basically like made it to where it made it felt like I can't stop. It made it feel like I can't stop basically. And then that's when it drove me to the point of like thinking like suicide was the answer. And I was gonna hang myself whenever I was living in Athens by myself. Like I was with my boy making music, but I had my own personal crib. And I just sought after basically the only thing physically on the earth that stopped me from killing myself, that made me second guess myself, was like my little brother. Because I felt like he was the only person that hadn't betrayed me or told me how to live my life basically. I was thinking about like if I kill myself, how would my little brother think about it? How would that leave him feeling? And then it made me ultimately it made me get down and start praying about it. And that was the first time I seriously like prayed about something, and I felt like I got the answer immediately. Like I felt God's presence right there with me. And then the next morning I woke up. I didn't have that urge to pop any pills anymore. I didn't have any urge to sip lean or do any other type of drug. And then I prayed again that morning, and I asked God basically like, I want to know who you are. I know that you're real. Just help me understand who you are basically. And that's what initially drove my urge to take drugs basically. And then I was walking downtown Athens that same day that I prayed and asked him to show me who he was. And this random kid walked up to me. We started chopping it up. He reaches in his backpack, hands me a Bible. I opened it up, and it was like, it had an obituary for a woman named Rosa Collins. She died in like 1945 or something like that, early 1900s. And Collins was the last name, or is the last name of my grandparents. And that's when the pieces kind of connected together. I was like, okay, this has got to be it. This is the answer. And then from that point on, I haven't really touched any narcotic drug. I did go back and smoke a little bit of weed, but currently I haven't smoked weed in like 6 months. And I've been clean of any pill or lean or acid or shrooms, everything that I was addicted to, like those main hard drugs. I haven't done any of those in like 2 years basically, since 2019.
Now, Before I ask you these next set of questions, which is breaking down some of the items you just explained, is there anything else you want to say in regards to this drug abuse that you were able to overcome, other than what you've just said?
Um, I felt like it came from a place of like a lot of negative thoughts and negative feelings that I had towards a lot of people, like not having my biological father around and just having that angst of just like, why didn't he care about me enough to be there? But in hindsight, it didn't really matter because I feel like it drove me to a better place. Like I felt like, not that I'm better without him, but that's just ultimately, that's the truth of it. It's just like, it worked out for the better. And my mom did everything she could to raise me right and did everything she could to teach me certain values, even if it wasn't religious values, or she did her best to raise me right and be both parents, basically.
Anything else on this subject before I get in depth here?
Nah.
Okay, so let's break some of these items down. What high school did you graduate from that you mentioned here in this interview?
South Effingham High School. Go
And
Mustangs.
and what two colleges did you attend? The first year and the second year when you transferred?
So the first year I went to Mercer University, and I went there. My mom basically, she didn't force me to go there, but she highly encouraged me. I felt like that was the college that I had to go to, but I went there and studied nursing. And then after the first year, like I caught a little charge during spring break, and she was like, "All right, now you can't be that far away from home," basically. And then I transferred to Georgia Southern, and then I feel like that just drove even though I wasn't at home still, but I was closer to home, it still was like Georgia Southern's huge party school, and not really like that I was in like the fraternity parties or anything, but just like the outsider parties that were doing a lot of drugs and stuff. Like I felt like I was around that culture a lot. But yeah, those two colleges,
So
Georgia Southern and Mercer.
what was the exact reason for the transfer?
Um, Initially, it was just because like Mercer was a more expensive school, and because I had messed up that opportunity by going to jail, and then, my mom and having to come and bail me out and stuff, she was like, "All right, well, we can't send you to the expensive school because you already messed up that opportunity. So you just have to you got to go to another school that's closer to home." And that school, Georgia Southern's like 30 minutes away from where I live.
Was this a charge you were able to beat?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. First time offense. It was just a possession charge. Um, it wasn't even in my car or on my body. It was just little shavings, little, like, what's it called? It was like we grinded up and then left a little bit of remnants on the seat or on the console, the center console, and basically that was it.
Of marijuana?
Yeah.
And then the second college you attend, Georgia Southern, what ended up happening with that?
I had a few bad experiences. Like personally, it wasn't anything with the school. And then by the end of that semester, when I was tripping a lot and trying to understand like who I was, not to say that tripping helped me understand more who I was, but I just felt like I had more free time and I wasn't taking school that seriously, that I was really trying to understand like what I wanted to do. And I just decided, like, I had made a few songs by then, and then I was like, if I were to take anything seriously, it would be music. And so that's ultimately what drove me to stop going completely.
Do you consider yourself a college dropout?
Um, no. I would say no, because I still have credits. I still passed my classes and stuff. I could still go back if I wanted to, but I'm trying to see where this takes me, I guess, where music takes me.
So did you complete your second year of college both semesters before you drop out? Or did you drop out in the middle of a semester type of thing?
No, I've completed the classes. I took all my courses, passed them.
Are you considered to have an associate's degree then, since you did get 2 years of college under your belt?
No, because all the programs I was doing was like 4 years or over. Whenever I transferred to Georgia Southern, I was trying to get a business degree, and that was still a 4-year program.
You also mentioned a job in this interview. Was this a job that you still currently work at?
No.
What job was that, and did you end up quitting or getting fired from it?
I quit all my jobs basically that I don't like, or that basically I would move from different cities, and then I would be like, yeah, I can't work here anymore. I'm moving to a different city in Georgia, and it would be like 4 hours away. So I would just get a different job. But most of the jobs, yeah, I would just quit.
So this job that you mentioned in this particular occasion during the drug abuse, you quit that job.
Yeah.
Care to share what job that was you were doing exactly?
Throughout the drug abuse span, it was mostly kitchen jobs or working in restaurants, like serving tables or just doing dishes or making plates, doing stuff like drop the fryer for the wings, put the wings on the plate, saute the wings, put the wings in the bowl, put the sauce on the wings. It was just easy stuff. Usually, like, I've done like seafood restaurant, pizza restaurant, uh, wings and pizza restaurant. I did a breakfast restaurant called Mama's Boy. It's local in Athens, basically. Yeah, I did a lot of restaurant jobs.
This job in particular that you mentioned, care to share the name of it though?
Um, Mellow Mushroom. Mellow Mushroom was the one where I was taking a lot of Xans, dropping a lot of lean. That was basically the prime drug abuse time.
Would you actually go ahead?
And to add on top of it, Mama's Boy too. Like, it was just in the morning, and then I'd be off at like 2 in the afternoon, and then I'd just have the whole day, and I would just do drugs basically.
Would you do the drug after work, or you would do it before and you were on it and going through the drug while you were at work?
Most of the time after work. Sometimes it would carry over. Like, one time I remember I did like a bunch of Xans, and then I woke up the next morning having to go to Mellow Mushroom. But that night I had a seizure, and or it was basically a moment where I passed out. I was on the toilet and I passed out, woke up, didn't know who I was, where I was, what was going on, and that was at like 6 in the morning. So then I had to be at work at like 9. So then I was still like under the influence going into work the next morning, and to the point where like I was still zanned out, and I put my hand on the grill and just completely fried my hand. But I didn't even feel it really because I was just so out of it.
Did anyone at work know you were under the influence of a drug?
I would presume at least one person knew, but most of the people there like did drugs too. So I feel like they just didn't really care, or they were just focused on themselves basically.
So no one ever confronted you about it at work? No bosses, no other employees?
Oh no, absolutely not.
You mentioned your boy in this interview that you did music with, or you do music with, but you didn't name him. Care to share who that was?
My boy PK. Yeah.
Are you guys biologically related?
No. A lot of people say we are though, or they ask if we are.
How'd you two meet?
We knew each other all, like, I've known that man since elementary school. We went to the same elementary school, middle school, high school. He was really the rapper in high school. Like, he started rapping, had his first couple songs in like 10th, 11th grade. And I was more like, in high school, I did like the dancing stuff. Like I danced to like EDM music, and I would dance in the pep rallies and stuff. And it wasn't until like that second year of college, during that summer, that we really like linked up and started making music, and we really partnered up together and became like real good friends.
Did he attend that college as well?
No, he went to UGA.
Now, what elementary and middle school did you attend? We know what high school you attended, but care to share the name of the elementary and middle?
South Effingham Elementary, middle, high school, it's all the same.
Now, I know how you first met. I mean, I know how you guys met, but do you remember how you first met him? You had elementary school, but I don't know
Yeah.
if you necessarily met in elementary.
We knew of each other. I feel like the first time I
First-
really met him and got to know him was when I dropped my first song with OG Mako, and then he hit me up, and he was like, "Yo," and I knew he made music too, but I just like wasn't the type of person to reach out or do anything about it. But I knew he was a rapper too, basically, and he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, I know you make music and stuff. Do you have like any recording equipment, or like how do you make your songs?" And I was like, "Yeah, I make all my songs myself." And he was like, "Yo, pull up to my crib and let's just make a song together." And I was like, "All right, bet." And then I pulled up, made a song for him, and then from there he was just like, "Yo, you want to move up to my place in Athens, and like we could share an apartment, da 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 da." And from there it was like history, basically.
And this was while you were at Georgia Southern.
It was like the summer. Basically, I had decided to stop going to college, and I decided to take music more seriously, I guess. Hence the OG Mako feature, like investing in that type of thing.
Oh, so this was after
Yeah.
you had gotten 1 year of Georgia Southern under your belt.
Yeah.
You mentioned thoughts of suicide. Did you actually attempt, or it was just thoughts of it?
Subconsciously, I feel like doing all those drugs and stuff was an attempt, basically, like just not even wanting to wake up the next morning. Like, what was the point? I'm gonna take all these pills, I'm gonna do all this, and hopefully I don't wake up. Like, I feel like subconsciously, yes, but in terms of the night that I decided, like, yo, I'm gonna kill myself, that was more so of like a very intense thought. I knew how I was gonna do it. It was just, no, there was no like actual physical attempt. It was more so like deep thought behind it, and just I knew I could do it, but that's when it drove me to that point of like prayer, basically.
When you would have these suicidal thoughts, was it while you were under the influence of drugs, or this was even thoughts after you were done being high?
There would mostly be the after effects of being high, for sure.
Your little brother, same mother, same father as you?
Same mother, yes, not same father. We had a different father, but his father basically raised me until my parents, or I basically called him my dad growing up, and they got divorced around like when I was like 8. So, yeah.
So your mother and your biological father, who you also mentioned in this interview, they split at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
While you were born, before you were born,
Uh,
after you were born?
Presumably before I was born. I don't know the exact specifics, but I only met him like once or twice, and they didn't. There was no like intimate relationship between the two. It was more so like I feel like for my benefit of just like knowing who my actual father was or is.
And why didn't you have much of a relationship with him?
I feel like he had his own problems, and he already had a son. That was I ended up talking to him actually one time on like PS3 when PlayStation 3 was big, and like 2010 or something. I was in like middle school, and I actually talked to him one time, and he was like, "Yeah, I see Dad all the time." Da 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 da. And I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, that just made me understand, like, all right, he had different priorities at the time, and yeah."
And for time reference, it's August 2021 now. When it came to dealing with the drug abuse, uh, overcoming the drug abuse, uh, the suicidal thoughts, mental, physical uh, effects from the drug abuse, have you ever received professional help of some sort over it?
No, I never did. I feel like pride definitely made me never want to seek out professional help, and I was just gonna figure it out by myself, which in hindsight it did, and in hindsight, all glory to God.
Even though this is something that you have been able to overcome, 6 months since the last time you used marijuana, 2 years since the last time you've done any of the lean and this, that, and the third, do you need professional help?
No, absolutely not.
When it comes to religion, do you follow a religion?
Um, yes, I would say I'm a follower of Christ, just because Christianity or Christian has a negative connotation. Like, a lot of people view it in a negative way, just based on its history and a lot of things. But in the world's aspect, in the worldview, yes, I'm a Christian, but I like to say I'm a follower of Christ.
In the world's view, is it a certain denomination under Christianity?
No specific denomination. I've been to a lot of churches since I've been saved, different types, um, Baptist, Methodist, but nah, no specific denomination.
When it comes to Christianity, uh, were you raised under that religion?
My mom took me to a couple services, and I feel like between the ages of like 10 and 11, when I was in middle school, we went to church a little bit, but after that, her falling away from it led to me falling away from it, and I never really had that foundation. The more so influence was like my grandma. Every time I would talk to her, no matter what age, I just remember like me being in the car with her and being like, her talking about Jesus, and I would just be like, yeah, all right, yeah, 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 yeah.
Grandmother on your mother's side.
Yes.
And I know I know it's Christ for you, but in the world view, it's Christianity. But for you, why Christ?
Just because whenever I prayed that morning after that supernatural experience of praying and asking God to help me, because I had studied all the religions, and not all, every single religion, but most of the major religions: Taoism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. I took 2 courses at Mercer on religion, so I studied them a little bit, and I had to write not a dissertation, but I had to write like a couple final exams on those religions.
And for you, what led to Christ? Why that
That
particular?
that moment, the next morning when I asked him to guide my footsteps and help me understand who God is, basically. And then when I was walking downtown, and then that kid handed me the Bible and stuff, and it had my grandma's last name as a bookmark, I was like, all right, this has got to be it. This is it. This is the answer I was looking for.
Now, at your worst point dealing with drug abuse, your bottom point, was it those seizures that you experienced?
Um, I feel like it was definitely one of them, yeah. It's like a tie between the night I wanted to kill myself because of the withdrawal symptoms, and one night when I had taken like 3 Xans and I was playing Fortnite with my friend. We were like basically landing in my little apartment, my little barrel apartment, and I went up to the bathroom, boom, collapsed, woke up, didn't know who I was, where I am, who I am. My arms are stuck like this. The bathroom door is locked, and I'm just like trying to open up the door, and I'm just crying because I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to function, basically. And my friend's just pounding on the other door, like, yo, are you okay? Yo, are you okay? And I'm just like, no, I'm not. I'm not okay.
Was any of the seizures, was that caught on video?
No, no. Fortunately enough.
When it comes to the seizures, could you have died from any of them?
I feel like I most certainly could have, but by the grace of God, I didn't. And I feel like the purpose of not dying from them led to my testimony and being able to share it with more people.
When it came to these seizures, would an ambulance ever be called? Would you ever go to an urgent care, emergency room, hospital of some sort?
No. One time it happened at Waffle House. I was this was at Mercer. This was the first time this ever happened, actually. And I I don't even remember what all I took and what all I did, but I know I was with one of my best friends at Mercer, my only best friend at Mercer, one of the only friends I made at Mercer. And we went to Waffle House. All I remember was the plate of food came in front of me. I blacked out. Boom, came back to, and the plate was empty, gone. And I was like, all right, I feel full. I'm about to go pay for my food. Boom, go up to the cash register, I'm handing her my card. Boom, just fainted right there. And then woke up. I don't even know how much longer, but my friend was like, yo, are you okay? Like, you got to get up. The ambulance is coming. The cops are coming. And I was like, immediately came up, hopped in the car. We all dipped, and I had like a big bulge on my head. Like, just, they thought I had a concussion, but I was just like, screw it. I'm about to go to sleep.
Now, you mentioned a plethora of drugs in this conversation, but you mentioned which ones you were addicted to. Out of all the drugs and the addictions that you had to the ones you named already in this interview, was there one you had that you were most addicted to or you had the worst addiction of?
I feel like at different time spans, it was different, just like deep, deep addictions towards them. Like when I was at Southern and I was doing acid like 4 times a week, that was the main thing then. And then when I was at Athens, it was more so like I was so focused on lean and Xanax that those were the main things then. Those were my drugs of choice.
You also, earlier in this discussion, mentioned pills. Was it any particular type of pills? Because you just
Um,
said pills. I didn't know if that was just variety of pills,
yeah.
generally speaking, or were there specific pills that you would take?
Specifically Xanax and um, what's the just Xanax basically. I had taken Adderall one time, but I realized real quick that I do not like uppers, and I will never take uppers again. That was the only upper I ever took. But yeah, in specific of pill addiction, it was just Xanax. Yeah.
What was it about uppers back then?
I was already just like a upper type of person, like high energy. And then I took an Adderall one time to study for an exam at Mercer, and I stayed up like 2.5 days. And then I ended up calling my friends back at home, and I was just crying, not even knowing what's going on with my body. It's just like shutting down at the end of the high. And then I just crashed for like a day.
When it came to the addictions of the drugs you did have, were they addictions that happened to you right away, or they took time to grow to become into an addiction?
Um,
So was it something you got hooked on right away, or was it something it took some time to get hooked onto?
nah, I feel like it happened right away. I have a very addictive personality for sure.
When it came to quitting and overcoming these addictions, uh, it was cold turkey.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
When it came to quitting these addictions, did you relapse into any of them?
No, not well. Weed was the only one, but that wasn't really like a narcotic that I with relapsed into. It was the only thing that I went back to was weed for a little bit, and then it gave me like anxiety a couple times, and I was just like, all right, I gotta stop.
And
That's it.
that was cold turkey as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, would you consider yourself addicted to marijuana back then?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I was rolling fat doinks for sure. Morning, noon, and night. Go on my lunch break, smoke one. Wake up, smoke one. Get off work, smoke one. Smoke three when I got off work, and then just chill, work on music.
Now, since you have quit marijuana for 6 months and you have quit the other drugs that you mentioned already for 2 years, what have you noticed health-wise? What have you noticed body-wise?
Definitely more alert, more energy. Um, Definitely more thoughts that I have to deal with and more things that were unanswered that I just have to deal with and understand that it's just how it is.
More money back in your pocket?
Oh, for sure. For sure, for sure. Well, I mean, at the time, yeah. We'll say yeah, more money in my pockets for sure.
You ever calculated how much you spent on either of these addictions that you've had in the past? The lean addiction, the Xanax addiction, the marijuana addiction, the acid addiction, whatever addictions that you had named here previously.
Um, I bought like the pinnacle of like the lean and Xanax addiction was like I bought 6 pints of lean for like $7.50 each. So that's 750 times 6. Around 5,000. Around 5,000 that week.
Yeah, 4,500.
Yeah. Okay.
750 times 6.
Yeah.
You spent 4,500 in 1 week.
Yeah.
Were you were doing music before the addictions, before the drugs became an addiction? You were already doing music, I believe.
Yeah. For sure.
What have you noticed music-wise since you've been clean from marijuana 6 months and the other drugs you already mentioned for 2 years?
Um,
Any difference
I can
musically?
I can make songs way faster. Way faster. It used to take me, well, I was also making them by myself instead of going to a studio, but I can freestyle a song in like 20 minutes now instead of taking an hour to put the lyrics together and try and make it transition and stuff. I can just go in the studio and make a song in 20 minutes now.
What's been your biggest song so far?
Numerically wise, probably Gravy.
When you created that song or recorded that song, Gravy, were you under the influence of any drugs at the time? Or were you sober
No,
or
I was
drug-free?
definitely under the influence. We made it at my boy PK. He was working at when he was at UGA. He worked a little part-time job at a vape shop, and I pulled up at the vape shop with the microphone and the computer, and I already had we had the beat already beforehand, and I had a little something written to it. He had a little something written to it, and then we just made it right there during his shift.
Because your biggest song so far was created or recorded under the influence of drugs, and now you are drug-free, is that a concern at all,
No,
music-wise?
no, absolutely not.
And why not for you?
Um, I feel like culturally for Athens, like that song was appropriate for the culture of Athens because it is very party oriented and a lot of people in Athens do drugs and stuff. So that's why it's not really a concern because I know if I make these other types of songs with no cussing, no talking about drug abuse, it can reach an even broader audience if the right people hear it. It can even I feel like some of the songs I've made now can even be on the radio.
Now, you did mention you have an addictive personality. Has quitting these drug addictions turned into another addiction of any sort? Sometimes when people quit an addiction, it can lead to another addiction. So, for example, there's people that can quit a drug addiction, and it could be another addiction that has nothing to do with drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I reverted back to like with the spare time that I do have now, because I work like I feel like one of the addictions is just like working, keeping my mind off of things, because I'll work two jobs. I'll work from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then that's just like no free time. And then if I do have an off day or some free time, I'll just like play some video games or something or go skateboard or shoot some hoops or something.
Any concerns there with those addictions?
No, definitely. The only one would be like video games, but I feel like it's definitely more healthy than popping a pill or doing some lean or smoking some weed.
Now, refresh my memory, okay? Which drugs were you actually considered addicted to?
Acid, Xanax, and lean. And a lot of people don't consider marijuana a drug per se, but marijuana definitely a drug. And I was definitely smoking every day and trying to be perpetually high throughout the day. So yeah, marijuana too.
Now, circumstances could be different for everybody, but anything you would say to someone watching this that has an acid addiction, or has a Xanax addiction, or has a lean addiction, or has a marijuana addiction, right now, generally speaking?
What would I say to him?
Yeah, if anything.
Just pray. Just pray. And if you feel like it's something that's holding you back or it's a threshold that is holding you back from your purpose, just pray about it and ask God to really take that urge away from you. And you got to mean it with your whole heart for sure. You got to really want to quit.
Now let's say, and again, circumstances could be different for everybody, but let's say somebody's watching this and just beat one of these addictions. But it's a very recent addiction they've beat, right? So it's still fresh. There's chances they could relapse.
For sure.
Maybe haven't yet, but the possibility could be there. They just overcame it. Anything you would say to somebody fresh after overcoming one of these addictions, whether it be acid, Xanax, lean, or marijuana?
We all fall short. We all, break our own, what's it called?
Take your time.
We all break our own standards, basically, and we all can't live up to the standards of doing the right thing ultimately, but that's why God is there to pick us up and to let us know, like, you are loved and you can still do this. You can be an example for the world. Even if it's not, you don't have a big platform or you don't have a lot of people seeing you. I even feel like the interpersonal relationships with people, them knowing that you overcame that is just inspirational in itself. And even if you fall, you just got to get back up and just understand that that's not for you and it's not leading you down the right direction or the right path.
The only times you've had a seizure was when you were under the influence of drugs?
Yeah.
Never had a seizure since?
Nope.
If you could turn back the hands of time, would you have done anything different? with the drug use, the drug abuse, that whole scenario there, looking back?
I would have never touched anything. I would have, I would have stayed squeaky clean and just try to do the school stuff and do the music on the side, and then try and get a decent or a good job in terms of world views and what people consider and deem a good job, a good paying job, and then just try and do the music on the side, which ultimately is like something that my mom and my grandma told me to do. But those would be, yeah, I would have never touched any of that stuff because it all just led me down a detour, basically.
Now, I've asked you a lot of questions about your drug addictions, abuse, survival, overcoming. Anything else you want to mention about drugs, drug abuse, surviving, overcoming? That whole scenario there, is there a question I didn't ask people want to know about these topics
Um,
that we haven't mentioned, or question I didn't ask about people really want to know?
I feel like ultimately people get influenced by it because of all the internet culture around drugs, and people try to portray, especially rappers, they try to portray like, oh, I'm doing all these drugs, oh, I'm so lit, oh, I'm getting all these girls because of the drugs and stuff. It's like you don't want to be around that type of crowd. You don't want to be influenced by those people because even though they may seem like they got this multi-million-dollar deal and all they're doing is pissing it away on drugs and girls and stuff, and it's still working out for them, it's not going to work out in the long run for them. And just stay true to who you are. You didn't come out the womb wanting to pop a pill or smoke some weed or something. It was all monkey see, monkey do, basically. You saw someone on YouTube with a music video smoking some weed, and you're like, oh, that seems cool. Oh, cool. You saw your friends smoking weed and popping pills, and they were like, yo, this is cool. And you were like, oh, all right, bet. But nah, just stay true to who you are.
Speaking of music, have you mentioned any of these elements in your music?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. In one of my music videos, I'm pouring up lean and smoking.
But I mean more so in terms of beating the drug addictions, talking about the drug addictions, the abuse, overcoming it, surviving it, any facets of that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Uh, in my Sip album, it's like the first half is talking about, it's in the mindset of when I was on drugs, and then the interlude is talking about this whole weighing out the whole, should I do drugs, should I not do drugs, and that the interlude basically talks about when I found God, and then the latter half of the album is talking about um, my mindset now that I'm not on drugs.
And that's called the Sip album.
Yeah.
And that's available for the public to listen to if they want to right now.
Oh yeah. There's most of it's on YouTube and all of it's on Apple Music for sure.